Now moving on to Solidarity, People Before Profit, Deputy Brid Smith.
Tánaiste, you know as well as I do, when you fight hard for something, you don't give it up easily. And like you fought hard for the leadership of Fine Gael, you're not going to walk away from it. All my life, all my adult life, I and tens of thousands of women in this country have fought very, very hard to be freed from the shackles of the Catholic Church over our reproductive rights. And we won that fight 3 years ago when we won the repeal referendum. My question to you today is about the proposed new National Maternity Hospital. We've recently seen a statement from the Sisters of Charity where they claim that they'll have no involvement in the management of the St. Vincent's Hospital Group, the new private charity named St. Vincent's Holdings. But this is technically incorrect. The nuns may no longer have any involvement with the day-to-day management of the hospital, but they may be able to appoint directors and are entitled to appoint their successors of the new holding company. The Sisters of Charity say they have gifted this site to the St. Vincent's Hospital to the people of Ireland. Well, I'd like to say to the people of Ireland, are we obliged to accept a gift from nuns who were involved in the Magdalen laundries, in mother and baby homes, in running a hospital that refused to provide sterilisation, vasectomy, any reproductive rights at all to women and to men? So I think they can take their gift, and if they want to give a gift of land to a new National Maternity Hospital, they should gift it to the state. I don't think the women of this country, or those of us who fought so hard, should go forward with a new National Maternity Hospital that still is dominated by the ethos of the St. Vincent's Group. And even recent statements by Mary Butler, Stephen Donnelly, Eamon Ryan, all the ministers say they intend to proceed with the Mulvey Plan that was welcomed in by the former Minister for Health, Simon Harris, in 2016. But I think we should remind ourselves that predated repeal, and repeal changed everything. And unless this government is intent on thrashing the outcome of the repeal campaign, there's a couple of questions that need to be honestly answered, firmly answered, and even if those answers say, oh no, Deputy, we can guarantee that you'll have full reproductive rights, including gender alignment, abortion, vasectomy, all of the above, we still don't believe the nuns, and we don't necessarily believe the government, because the facts speak for themselves, and the constitutional makeup of the new St. Vincent's Holding Group still allows for the voluntary organisations in the publicly funded healthcare premise to maintain their private Catholic ethos. And I don't actually believe the nuns, and I don't disrespect them by saying that, but I have to believe people based on their history and their level of trust that they've given to us. So I'm asking you, will you present the current draft of the legal framework to the Dáil for examination? And will you acknowledge that the Mulvey Plan was made redundant by the repeal referendum and must be scrapped? And will you act to take the new maternity hospital into full public ownership?
Thanks, Deputy. At the outset, I just want to say that I think we all respect and value the role played by the Sisters of Charity in providing healthcare and education down the years when the state did not. And I think we all support the building of a new National Maternity Hospital at Elm Park. We need it, and women need those modern facilities. Hall Street's a great hospital, but it belongs to 200 years ago, not to today. There are problems, quite frankly, in going forward with this project, and you and I agree on this more than you may believe. It is the case that the hospital will be owned by the state. It is the case that the governing constitution and memorandum and legal documents for the new hospital guarantee that all services currently available in Holles Street, including terminations, abortions, sterilisations, will be available in the new hospital, and there isn't a concern around that. But the government does have a big concern about two other aspects. One is the ownership of the land that the hospital will be built on. That has not been gifted to the state, it's been gifted to a private charity. and it's proposed that there be a 99-year lease to the state. We have a difficulty with that. We don't think the safeguards around that are strong enough, that the land would be owned by a private charity rather than the state, and only a 99-year lease being provided. And we have a difficulty as well with the governance of the proposed new hospital. It's going to be a voluntary hospital. That's okay. There are lots of voluntary hospitals and they work very well. However, the board will not be appointed by the government. And that's a real difficulty too, because a hospital that is fully funded by the state, or almost fully funded by the state, should have a significant number or majority of members of the board appointed by the government, in my view. And that's the problem that we face at the moment. Two things we're happy enough about: owning the hospital, the guarantee that all procedures legal in the state will be provided in that hospital, but a difficulty around the ownership of the land is going to be on. Not happy with the lease proposal, and not happy with the governance arrangements, and we are working through those things at the moment.
Understood. Deputy Smith.
I can't accept that the guarantee over full reproductive rights, including gender realignment, will be available, because the constitution of the new holding company specifically states that its core values are identical to that of the St Vincent's Hospital Holding Group. And I think that constitution either needs to change. Ideally, and I accept that you're concerned about some of the things that we're concerned about, ideally the state should purchase the site by compulsory purchase order, fully pay for it and build it and staff it and run it via the state without any interference whatsoever from a charity that the nuns can appoint directors to. And that's the only way out of this. And I do think that the Mulvey report, on which this is premised and based, has been outdated by the repeal result. And as I said, that changes everything. And people in this country feel very strongly about it, so strong indeed that there's a mounting campaign which will be outside the gates of Leinster House on the 26th of this month of June, which is Saturday week. And I'd invite everybody who's concerned about our future rights to full choice and no less to be there. We still haven't had a review of the abortion legislation, and that leaves lots of questions unanswered.
To conclude.
Thanks, Deputy. From the point of view of the government, it is an absolute requirement that the Constitution and the Memo of Arts for the new hospital must specify that any procedures and treatments that are legal in this state are available in that hospital. Full stop. There can be no ambiguity about that, and that includes sterilisation, IVF, assisted reproduction and terminations. The issue of gender reassignment, I'll have to look into that. I wasn't aware that's done in maternity hospitals. I thought it was done in adult general hospitals, but that's something I can look into, but it may be a separate matter. But like I say, this is something the government is working on. The ideal scenario would be ownership of the site. Agree with that. But if you look at the design, it's an integrated building. It's not a separate building. It's an integrated building with the existing hospital, and that does make it tricky. But I agree that would be the preferred option, or certainly a better option than what's being proposed now, which is a 99-year lease with certain guarantees, but not adequate in the view of the government at the moment.